Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Math with Dr. War. Today's video is a requested video. A viewer requested a multiplications table video. The person wanted to know if I knew any tricks or what methods I used to remember the times table. I did the majority of my schooling in the West Indies. And if anyone knows the West Indies, they'll always say that West Indians are rote learners. And by rote learners means that we memorize a lot of stuff. It helps in some cases, but not in every subject area. Now, in mathematics, when I was in primary school, and I would say kindergarten, which would be for you guys in America, we had to stand up in the yard every morning and recite our times table for the teacher. So we were in a little group. I think there were probably like 20 of us, and she would have us in 2 rows of 10, and we stood up there and we recited our times table every morning, 5 days a week. As you can tell, I was quite traumatized by that. And the way we recited our times table is we said 2 times 1 is 2. 2 into 2, 1. 2 times 2 is 4. 2 into 4, 2. 2 times 3 is 6. 2 into 6, 3. So basically, we were saying the multiplication format and the division format. But I was a stubborn little girl, and I knew my times table up to the middle of the 7 times table. So I knew 1 to 6, and I knew up to 7 times 5. And then after that, I didn't know any more, and I would stand there and mumble. And my last name began with W, so you know I was at the end. So I wasn't in the front, and I would mumble my way through. When I got higher into my primary grades, it came back to haunt me that I really needed to know my multiplications table. And I eventually had to learn the rest of my tables because mumbling was not going to get me anywhere in life. So this video is a way to memorize your times table. I'm going to tell you up front, there's no easy way to learn this. It's going to be a rote memorization. You're going to have to write and you're going to have to talk to yourself. When it comes to the times table, we know some of them, so don't get scared. We know some of them. Many of you know your ones times table. We know that 1 times 1 is 1, 1 times 2 is 2, 1 times 3 is 3, and so forth. So I'm going to fill in my ones times table. So I'm just going to keep filling in. That would be 9, 10, 11, and 12. Most of us also know our 2 times table. 2 is very popular because it's like you're counting in 2s. 2 times 1 is 2. 2 times 2 is 4. 2 times 3 is 6. Even if you count in 2s, because I have some of my students who would say their 2 times table as 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, and 24. I always tell them to find a day to sit down and recite that 2 times 4 is 8 and also write it down. Because many times in class, I would say, what's 2 times 9? And someone would say, wait a minute, and start using their fingers to count. And when they get to 9, they'll tell me it's 18. Yes, that's fine. When you need your answer quickly, you need to know that 2 times 9 is 18. So it's fine to count in 2s. Just find a day to sit down and write out that 2 times 10 is 20 and 2 times 11 is 22. The other most popular table is the 5 times table. So 5 times 1 is 5. 5 times 2 is 10. And remember, we know what is 2 times 5 because You know your 2 times table, right? So 2 times 5 is the same as 5 times 2. In mathematics, we call this the commutative law. So basically, whatever direction you go in, 5 times 2 or 2 times 5, you're going to get the same answer as 10. And again, some of us like to count in fives. So for the 5 times table, you can count in fives. That's 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55, and 60. However, find a day if you are a person who counts in fives to just sit down and write 5 times 2 is 10, 5 times 3 is 15, 5 times 4 is 20, just like that. You're just sitting, you're writing, and you're talking. When you write, read, and speak, you will remember. Another table that we know is our 10 times table because again, we can count in tens. 10 times 1 is 10, 10 times 2 is 20, 10 times 3 is 30, 10 times 4 is 40, and so forth. So I'm just going to fill this in for us because we can count in tens. The most popular, most famous times table anyone knows is their 11 times table because of the double numbers. So 11 times 1 is 11, 11 times 2 is 22, 33. So I'm just going to fill this in 44, 11 times 5, 55, 11 times 6, 66, and so forth. So we can fill in our 11 times table. So don't say that you don't know your times table. You know some of them. You just don't know all of them. So you know your 1s, your 2s, your 5s, your 10s, and your 11s because those are the most popular ones. You're going to find a day and we're going to work on our 3 times table. Now you know some of your 3 times table. You know that 3 times 1 is 3. 3 times 2 is 6, or you can say 2 times 3, because remember, you know your 2 times table. You also know your 5 times table, correct? 3 times 5 is 15, or if you want to look at it as 5 times 3, you know that is 15. We also know our 10 times table. So 3 times 10 is 30. And we also know our 11 times table. 11 times 3 is 33. So in our 3 times table, we actually know 5 of them. 5. We just have to memorize 7. So you're going to sit down and you're going to memorize that 3 times 3 is 9. You're going to sit down, you're going to write 3 times 3 is 9. 3 times 4 is 12. 3 times 6, 18. 3 times 7, 21. Suppose you didn't know what's 3 times 8. The best thing about the multiplication table, it's repeated addition. So if I add 3 to 21, I get 24. This was a little trick I used in school when I did not know my times table. If I knew up to 3 times 8, I would keep adding 3. So I would add another 3, so that would give me 27. And then I would add another 3. And by my repeated addition, I memorized. And finally, 3 times 12 is 36. So I'm sitting for 10 minutes a day and I am memorizing, I am writing 3 times 3 is 9, 3 times 4 is 12, 3 times 6 is 18, 3 times 7 is 21. So all of the numbers in red, I am sitting and I'm writing that over and over and over and saying it as well for 10 minutes. 10 minutes a day, every day for 3 days. Now, on the third day, you're going to write out your entire 3 times table from 3 times 1 all the way down to 12. Now, on that third day, when you know your 3 times table completely, you're ready to move on to your 4 times table. But remember, we know some of our 4 times table. We know that 4 times 1 is 4. 4 times 2 is 8, which is 2 times 4. Remember, we just learned our 3 times table, so 4 times 3 is 12. We know our 5 times table. 4 times 5 is 20. We know our 10 times table, so that would be 40. We know our 11 times, so that would be 44. So we just have to learn 6 of them. You need to know that 4 times 4 is 16, 4 times 6 is 24, 4 times 7, 28, 4 times 8, 32, 4 times 9, 36, and 4 times 12, 48. So for another 3 days, for 10 minutes a day, you're only learning 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of them. You're not practicing the entire 4 times table. It's just 6 that you don't know. So you're going to do that 10 minutes a day for 3 days. On the 3rd day, you're going to sit and you're going to write out your entire 4 times table from 4 times 1 all the way to 4 times 12. When you've completely written that out and you didn't get anything wrong, I would suggest that you start to write out your tables for the 1 times table, the 2 times table, the 3 times table, and the 4 times table, just to make sure, oh yes, let's include the 5 as well. And your 5 times table, that you know 1 to 5. You know your tables up to the 5 times table. Now, once you've done that, you're like, oh great, I got it. All right, give yourself a break because you just did a lot on that 3rd day. The next day, you get up and you're like, I'm going to tackle my 6 times table. I know 1 to 5, I'm going to tackle 6. But remember, you know some of your 6 times table. You know 6 times 1 is 6, 6 times 2 is 12, 6 times 3 is 18. We just learned our 4 times table. 6 times 4 is 24. We know our 5 times table, so that would be 30. We know 6 times 10 is 60. We know our 11 times. 6 times 11 is 66. So you just have to learn 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them. Only 5. You're like, wow, I just got to memorize 5. The 5 that you have to sit for 10 minutes a day and memorize is 6 times 6 is 36. 6 times 7 is 42. 6 times 8 is 48. 6 times 9 is 54. And 6 times 12 is 72. So every day for 3 days, you're going to sit and write 6 times 6 is 36. 6 times 7 is 42 for 10 minutes over and over. And on the 3rd day, you're going to write out your entire 6 times table. And once you finish that, try to write all your tables up to 6. Once you've conquered that, the next day you'll be like, ooh, I know all my tables up to 6. You're going to work on your 7 times table. You know some of your 7 times table. You know 7 times 1 is 7. 7 times 2 is 14. 7 times 3 is 21. 7 times 4 is 28. 7 times 5 is 35. And we recently just learned the previous day that 7 times 6 is 42. We know our 10 times table, so this would be 70. We know the 11 times table, that would be 77. So for the 3 days, you just have to memorize 4 of them that you don't know. The 4 that you need to memorize, 7 times 7 is 49. 7 times 8 is 56. 7 times 9 is 63. And 7 times 12 is 84. That's the only 4. 10 minutes a day, you're just writing 7 times 7 is 49, 7 times 8 is 56, 7 times 9 is 63, 7 times 12 is 84. 10 minutes a day. On the 3rd day, write out your entire 7 times table. And then to test yourself, write out your entire tables from 1 to 7. See if you remember all of them. The next day, you're like, okay, I'm ready to tackle my 8 times table. Just as before, we know some of our 8s. We know 8 times 1 is 8, 8 times 2 is 16, 8 times 3 is 24, 8 times 4 is 32, 8 times 5 is 40, 8 times 6, because remember your 6 times table, 48. We just recently learned our 7 times table, and 8 times 7 is 56. We know the 10s, so that's 80. We know the 11s, which is 88. So you just have to remember 3 of them. You just need to remember that 8 times 8 is 64, and 8 times 9 is 72, And 8 times 12 is 96. So there are just 3 of them that you have to remember. And again, for 3 days, you just remember that 8 times 8 is 64, 8 times 9 is 72, 8 times 12 is 96. And on your 3rd day, write out your entire 8 times table and then fill in your tables from 1 all the way up to 7 because you did 8. And you just need to fill in from 1 to 7 just to make sure that you can remember them. Once you've done that, the next day, you're ready to move on to your 9 times table. And guess what? You know some of your 9 times table. You know 9 times 1 is 9, 9 times 2 is 18, 9 times 3, 27, 9 times 4, 36, 9 times 5, 45, 9 times 6, we know that is 54, 9 times 7, 63. We just recently learned our 8 times table, so 9 times 8 is going to be, yes, 72. We know our 10s, so that's 90. We know our 11s, which is 99. And guess what? You just need to memorize 2 of them. So you're memorizing just 9 times 9 is 81, and 9 times 12 is 108. That's all you're memorizing. You can actually just memorize these 2. I know that's just like too little for the 10 minutes, so you can just write out the whole thing. 9 times 1, 9 times 2, 9 times 3, all the way down to 9 times 12. On your 3rd day, write out your entire 9 times table and then write out your entire tables all the way to the 8 times tables. Because remember, you did the 9 times table, you know it. So let's refresh and recap and review. Do I know my tables all the way up to number 8? Now you know your 10 and your 11, so now it's on to the 12 times table. So this is the finale. We know the majority of our tables. We know that 12 times 1 is 12. 12 times 2 is 24 because that's the 2 times table. 12 times 3, which is the 3 times table, will be 36. 12 times 4 is your 4 times table, so that's 48. 12 times 5, that would be 60. 12 times 6, 72. 12 times 7, 84. 12 times 8, 96. 12 times 9, 108. Because we just recently learned our 9 times table. We know our 10 times table, so that would be 120. We know the 11 times. Only one that you need to memorize is 12 times 12, which is 144. So with my little pattern here, as you go further in your times table, you're learning a lot of them. So when it comes to just memorizing, it's just a few. Especially when you get to the 8 times table, you're only memorizing 3 of them. And when you get to the 9 times table, it's only 2 that you have to remember because we know all the other tables. And then the 12 times table is just 1 that you have to remember. This is the easiest way. I hope this multiplication video has been helpful. Again, please share the channel. Please subscribe if you're not subscribed. And again, if there's a video out there that you think might be helpful to you, might also be helpful to someone else, please comment and I'll get to it. Have a great day.